other private school early action. That's what they say. It's pretty niche. You won't encounter it very often unless you're applying to those specific schools. And then finally you have early decision, which is, like it sounds, it is a decision. It is final. Those are usually done, again, by high-level institutions, Brown, Cornell, those places that offer early decision. So you will apply, again, by at an early deadline, usually October, November, and you will hear a response in December. And that decision is binding. Means you have to sign a legal contract saying that if you are accepted to the school, you are going. And you can't back out. You can kind of, for financial reasons, if the aid package they don't offer is enough, and you can't make that work. Other than that, you're basically required to go. It's a legal contract essentially. And so it depends, there are different reasons why you might want to apply early decision versus regular decision. Me personally, I did not want to be constrained by that early decision idea, because I knew I wanted to get all my options, weigh everything, take my time, and then make a decision. Gather as much information as possible, talk to current students. That's just kind of how I make my decisions. And then I was going to take my time and decide. See, I still haven't fully decided yet. But some people, they're like, okay, I want to go to Brown. Even if I get into all the other schools, I've done all my research, I'm going to go to Brown if I get in. Then they might apply early decision. And early decision, your chances of getting in are also higher. It's more like 20% compared to 5 in the regular decision. So your chances are much higher. But you've got to be certain at that point that is exactly what you want. And if you're not, in my opinion, it's not a risk worth taking, because not only you're going to go there, you're going to end up there, you're not going to be happy, you're going to transfer out. It's also a major financial investment that you have to be sure you want to go for.
So he did just say that it was probably not the best decision to go early decision, but that's kind of exactly what I did.
If you don't know, in your case,
yeah.
It's what you want to do.
So my route was kind of different because I was trying to pursue track in college, and so what I had done was as soon as my 11th grade year had ended, I had reached out to a bunch of different colleges and their track coaches, and I had sent all my information and my grades as well as my athletic background, and I sent it to them, and I said, would you be interested in potentially recruiting me as a athlete at their school? And so throughout the whole summer, I'd been communicating with different colleges and different coaches, and so for me, by the time it was come to apply in October, November, I had visited a bunch of different schools, and I had talked to the coaches. I had seen different teams and the university's teams, and for me, the big thing was the campus, whether you're going to like it or not. And when I went to New York City and I saw that campus at NYU, I immediately fell in love with it. But also, a big thing when you consider college is obviously the money that you have to spend to go to college. And for me, that was one con that I would have to say about trying to go out of state to a college. And so I was really making sure that if I did go to a school out of state for college, I was trying to make sure that I would have some sort of scholarship or get some sort of financial benefit from going to school, because staying in state and going to either UJ or Georgia Tech has lots of benefits, like the Hope or Zell covers full tuition. And so passing up on that and going to a school outside of your state is a very big risk. But the coaches as well, the coaches had given me an offer about how much money they would be giving me if I chose to apply to their school, and weighing out all the options before I even applied, I had come to the realization that based on the campus, the team, as well as the academics, I had decided that New York University was the best decision for me. So I decided to apply early decision to NYU. And so my thought process into that was, that's my dream school. I want to go and run track, but also study business in New York. And so that was my dream school. So I said, I'm going to invest all my effort into making sure that one application for NYU was the best I could possibly make it, because that's the school that I wanted to go to. But you also want to have a backup plan in case your plan A doesn't work. And so my plan B was, if I didn't get into my top school, I was going to apply to Georgia Tech, UJ, or any other school regular decision, which is in December after I got my decision for NYU. And so I had my applications filled out for my other colleges too, like Georgia Tech and UGA. But then when the time came for the decision to release for NYU, and I realized I'd gotten in, then I realized that there was no reason for me not to take it. And since it's binding, once you get accepted, you have to go there, which was fine with me because that was my dream school. And knowing the financial package that I was going to receive, it was set in stone that I did want to go there. And since that's why it's really important to take the visits to those colleges prior to applying, because part of the thing that's a deciding factor too is like where you're going to be living for the next 4 years. So if you're going to a place or like a city where you don't really like the campus, but you're going there just because you've heard that the academics there is great, well, if the campus around there and like the environment around there isn't like putting you in like a happy state of mind, then like it's really going to hurt you when you're there for 4 years. So making sure you take advantage of those college visits can really help you figure out which colleges you want to apply to earlier.
And I think they covered most of the major bases here. Just one thing I'd like to add is I really only apply to colleges that I would want to go to or I can see myself going to. Because a lot of my friends applied to, I think one of my friends applied to 25 colleges. I don't think he was going to go to all 20 of those colleges, even if he got in. So I'd say just pace yourself based on what colleges you really want to go to. And apply, like I believe he's talked about how you apply to some reaches, some targets, and some safeties. I applied to a selection of them, and my safeties have been colleges that I can see myself going to and I'd be happy at. So I did my research on the colleges, read through their FISC guide, for example. It's a guide on the internet which tells you about, like it gives you a general profile of the college. So whenever I research about a college, I look at their FISC guide to see what kind of environment do they have, how's their academics, how's their extracurricular life. And looking at that, I decided I can see myself going here, I'd like to go there. And that's how I worked through my application process.
Different people, like obviously you have a select, group of colleges that you want to apply to, obviously whatever's nearby, and then, maybe, okay, you want to apply to some Ivy League schools and this, that, right? But when it comes time to actually making, narrowing down that list to whatever number you want to apply to, you got to start, using like different metrics to narrow that list down. And that varies from person to person. So for me, that was I wanted to go to a school that offered a major that I wanted, which was like public health or healthcare policy. And so my list ended up getting cut down from like 16 to like 8 because of that. The only exception was like Georgia Tech, and that's because I'm here. It's Georgia Tech. Otherwise, then I probably wouldn't have applied even. So I don't know what you guys use, to kind of cut that down. I know someone who was like, he's super smart, super intelligent, but he loves football. So he said, if I'm gonna go to a school, they gotta have a football team. Whether they're good or not doesn't matter, but they gotta have a team. That was something he used. And obviously, you may be a football fan, you may not, but whatever works, to cut that list down. So whatever you use, that's something that you will come up with over time. But don't stress yourself out by applying to 25 places, especially if you can't see yourself going to those 25 places. So. Life also happens. I ended up getting sick actually during the application process. And so that was another thing that I had to look at and be like, okay, which of these schools do I really want to apply to? Because I didn't have enough time or enough energy to apply to all of those original schools. And so you gotta really think about what you want to invest your time and energy in, and that should be a place that you actually want to go to.
Okay, I just want to say thank you to our guest speakers and thank you to everyone here. I'm going to open the panel to guest questions in just a minute, but I just want to thank all of you guys. Thank you guys for coming here. So I hope all of you guys enjoyed their stories and listening to all the things about their college applications and all that. And I will open the floor for guest questions. So if you have any questions, you guys can go ahead and ask.
Firstly, thanks for the discussion and it was so informative. Second, Ali, I think you talked about you did some internship with the Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
So, like high school, you have some programs, initiatives to do that, or is it all by yourself, you have that your networking and on that?
So colleges do offer programs specifically for high schoolers, but the problem with me was I have an H4 visa, so I can qualify for a lot of these programs. So for example, Georgia Tech has GTRI, which is an excellent program, and I encourage you guys to apply. It offers like paid internships under professors, but that requires an American citizenship, so I couldn't apply for that one. So what I did instead was I was enrolled in the Georgia Tech math program, which gave me a Georgia Tech email address. So using that email address, I emailed professors who work in areas that I thought were like really interesting. Like I emailed Dr. Andrews, who was working in urban design and using computer science to make cities friendlier. I read a few of her papers and emailed her saying, I love your work. I would love the opportunity to work under you. I'm not looking for pay or anything. I'm just looking for an opportunity to learn. And she was kind enough to offer me an internship, and I was able to get published under her in her lab. And she even offered me a job when I get to Georgia Tech as well. And after that, I also emailed Dr. Mayer when I wanted to do some research on online education, because technology education combined is actually one of the things I really want to study. So I asked Dr. Mayer, who was my teacher in my math class, if he would sponsor my research paper and advise me. And he was kind enough to agree, and that's how I got an internship. But again, there's many other ways to get internships, including at corporate offices. I've interned at Unlock Technologies because I want to go to CS, so I thought it's probably good to get some knowledge on the corporate office and how that works. So again, I used email again, and someone at the office saying, well, I'd love the opportunity to work under you guys. Not looking for pay, just an opportunity to learn. And people tend to be nicer than you think they'd be, and they were kind of to give me an opportunity.
So you ended up doing a lot of it on your own, right?
Yes.
Looking at it. Actually, Gwinnett County had an internship program called the Quest Internship Program for gifted students, and so I ended up getting like an email about it or something. And so I, went through that, communicated with them, had some interviews, and then they ended up pairing me with the nephrologist who I go shadow like a couple days every week. So in that case, I didn't actually have to really look for it on my own. They ended up doing a lot of the work for me. So it's not to say that you have to do it all on your own, or that everything will be handed to you. You'll have to do some of your own, looking around. But it's important, to talk to your counselors and find out what opportunities are available in your school or county. Because a lot of times they're just not advertised very well. So yeah.
Ashwath mentioned Gwinnett County, but for people in Forsyth County, once you get into high school, I think either your 11th grade or 12th grade, your counselors may talk to you about this program called Internship Forsyth. And so basically, that is basically considered, it's like considered a class in your schedule. So your counselors will leave like either one class period or two class periods of your schedule free for you to spend like hours at an internship. And so being part of that Internship Forsyth, you have to apply to join that Internship Forsyth program. But what they do is like, you have like counselors or teachers at your school that throw out a variety of different opportunities where you could intern in the area. And so, for example, one place that was available to intern was just a local library. So just a local library, there's this internship opportunity as like the software, just like a person to help with like the software and like going through like the databases of all the books in the library. And so you can find internships, you could have found plenty of different internships like through that Internship Forsyth program. And like the teachers help you with like finding an opportunity, but like it's obviously your responsibility to like come up with a resume and like be prepared for an interview and like reach out to the person that you do want to intern with. But that really did help with like interning in the area and like finding some places to intern in Forsyth.
So I have a question with regard to extracurricular activities. So from what I have listened, you have all the extracurricular activities is related to the school. So how about that is separate, Like let's say, you're performing in GATS or singing or dancing, whatever. Does it be linked to the school or?
So I did dance with GATS heavily, and then I also danced with an American studio called RISPA, which has no link to my school. So basically, so are you talking about like for your college application?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the extracurriculars you put in your college application can can be a club with your school, or it can also be like just something you do on your own. So like I also tutored piano at a School of Music, North Fulton School of Music, which is also not related with my high school. But like you can like help out or like be part of an extracurricular unrelated to your school, but it also looks very valuable in your college application because it shows that like not only are you taking advantage of the resources you have at your school, but you're going out of your way to like find something that you are interested in and finding where to finding where you can take your time to really express your passion in something outside of your school, and that is very valuable to college applications because through that, like that's also a leadership position, like being like a piano like tutor, like I put that as a leadership position for my extracurricular activity. And then at my dance studio, I was like a assistant teacher at that dance studio. So like you can find lots of value in like doing extracurriculars outside of school, and like colleges will still find that very valuable.
I have one question added to that questions. So from Lambert, how they are paying if you are volunteering from GATS? So you have to go through the school, or you do your volunteer work and then submit your hours to the school.
So you don't necessarily have to submit any hours to school. I did GATS personally separately, not affiliated with my school at all. But these volunteer hours, like some clubs at your school might require volunteer hours, but you don't have any like mandatory volunteer hours for school or anything. But generally, if I require to put my volunteer hours on certain applications or something, I can.
Who will monitor your volunteer hours? So someone has to put them, right? So who will monitor?
So GATS itself usually monitors your volunteer hours. Like we have a spreadsheet which says like Ali did 2 hours volunteering on this day, and it has like on your like name spreadsheet. And you can often have GATS directly send them, or like you can say I did it and GATS can verify it if you have filled out any form. Usually GATS can verify it itself, and they have their own separate tracker that if anyone needs to verify, like double check, they can contact GATS.
And so then on your common application itself, Nishad, you talked about the activities section. So there you're going to have like 10 options, and it's going to say, what category activity was this, what was the name, when were you doing it, and how many hours a week were you doing it. So that would be the time where you actually, write down, okay, I was in National Honor Society volunteering, I did this for, 3 hours a week for, 52 weeks, or how many ever you do. So that's kind of that time where you'll put all the extracurriculars together, whether they were affiliated with the school or not. That's where you're going to put everything on there. So if you're doing National Honor Society, or a Beta Club, or or piano teacher, piano tutor, all that is going to be in that one section. It's not going to be split up by school activity versus non-school activity. It's all just called activities in general in one big section.
So your extracurricular, your volunteering, your academic, does all need to converge into a proper team which shows up your personality? Is that, because I saw that diverging in all the cases. Does it need to converge?
Yes, I think in my opinion, when I was a junior and whatnot, sometimes colleges will come to the school and give like a little presentation. And one of the things they talked about was fit. We're looking for a specific type of student. And if you don't fit that profile, you're not going to probably get admitted. And so that was something I didn't really believe or truly understand at that time. But now going through that process, I can tell you that was probably one of the most important aspects of getting in. You have to fit the kind of profile that they're looking for, not just in terms of academics. But I'll tell you, I got into Georgetown, and one of the things they asked about was diversity. Georgetown is a very diverse place. We're big on inclusivity and prompting discussion from people of different backgrounds, and that kind of thinking. And so a big part of the application when I'm writing about myself is what do I bring to that diversity. And so that's very important, because you're right, when you look at my resume, for example, pre-med, mock trial, theater, it seems all over the place. And so your application is really that time to put everything together and say, hey, this is the image I'm trying to convey. And you do that with all those different parts, but your letters of recommendation from your teachers are going to be one of the biggest things for that as well. So I had, like my physics teacher write a letter of recommendation. She was talking about, like the more academic-minded me. And then I had done a dual enrollment class with a U.S. history professor. And I had written a research paper on the history of U.S. healthcare, and that I presented at conferences, and I had sent for publication review. And so he wrote about, like, the research-minded aspect of me, how I'm ambitious, I want to change things, and how I do my due diligence in that way. And then I had my theater teacher, who I've known for now at least 5 or 6 years, write me another letter of recommendation, who talked about, like the more compassionate, people-minded side of me. And so that kind of all comes together in the end when the admissions officer is looking at it. And not only does that help them see you as like a complete person, but that just definitely will increase your chance of getting in, especially if that kind of person that you are is the kind of person that they're looking for. So yeah.
And just to add on to the thing about recommendation letters, Ms. Inglesworth talked about like a brag sheet or something that high school often says you can give your teachers. In addition to this, I think a good idea would be to have like a list of anecdotes or like stories that bring out your character that you can remind your teacher about. Because your teacher has like 100 other students and they might not remember every single thing you've done. So just attach like a list to the brag sheet of like maybe 4 or 5 stories of things you did in her class that she might have liked, she might remember. And this is a way, because just telling her, can you write this about me, is not going to come off the best way possible. But this is a way you can just politely nudge saying, this would be something cool to write about. And it also makes her job a lot easier, so they'll probably be happier to write that recommendation.
Could you guys talk about pros and cons of applying as an undeclared major? Is there a benefit or a disadvantage?
I mean, when you apply to college, you don't necessarily need to be like set on like one thing to do. So like being undeclared, I mean, it doesn't really change how they view you. It's just like showing them that like you're open to like doing anything, and like you're just going to go into college with like a clear slate and like nothing really set in your mind, because it's good to be flexible. So like showing undeclared, I'm not saying it's like the best thing, but like it's also not bad, because colleges don't really care what major you apply to, as long as like you show that you're interested in their school. But like when you say undeclared, you could say in like your college essay that like there's so many different like majors that I am interested in that college that like it's hard for me to choose now. But like if I apply undeclared and then I do my first year at this school, then I'll have like a good like idea of what I do want to do moving forward, like the next 3 years of that college.
It's it's not necessarily a downside. I have a friend who applied to Georgia Tech undeclared and he got in. And then I have a friend who is now a student there who's like done a little bit of interning at the admissions office. And what he was saying was one of the things is that they do discriminate based on major. So if you're applying for an engineering major or a computer science major, it's definitely going to be harder than applying for something like public policy. But that doesn't necessarily mean that if you want to get in, you should apply for public policy. Everything has to fit together. It's all got to work. So it's not necessarily bad to say that applying undeclared is like going to increase your chances dramatically, or is it really going to decrease your chances? Again, it's all got to fit together. That's I think the most important thing. If it fits together and it tells the right story, I think your chances are pretty decent.
And just one important thing to note is don't just apply like to a major that's what you think is easier to get into. Because some colleges, like University of Washington, Seattle, which is one of the colleges I got into, they're really good for computer science, and that's like their strongest major by far, and their most competitive major as well. So they're really strict on not letting you switch majors. So if you do apply to a major that you're not like as sure about at college, so like Georgia Tech, for example, is really easy on letting you switch majors. So if you go in applying for like a German major and then switch to computer science, Georgia Tech is fine with that. But colleges like University of Washington are really strict, saying that if you apply to a major, you must stick with it, and it's like really difficult to change majors. So if you're applying to a major, make sure you look at the college's policy for changing majors or how they treat undeclared majors. It's different in each college, so I'll look at the website and just do the research on that.
Whatever major you do apply to, try to like have your extracurriculars like back that up. So like Adi's going to computer science at Georgia Tech, so his computer science internship suits that very well. But like if he was applying to psychology to then transfer into computer science once he got into college, if he did put in his application that he was going to be a psychology major, but nothing about his application showed his interest in psychology, then obviously that's not going to look good. So like, if you have a major that you've been like working in like developing your interest in throughout your high school career, don't switch away from that just because you think it's easier to apply as a different major so you could then transfer as the major you want to be. Be confident in like that. Be confident in your chances that what you have been doing throughout your high school years is going to get you into the major that you want, because that's what's going to show like the trend in your application. That's what Ashwat was saying. Like you want to show the trend of your application, that like if you're applying to a major, everything that you've done leading up to applying all follows that idea that you do want to be in that major.
We can probably take one more question if there is any, or if not, we can. Is there any questions? Okay. Thank you so much. So, thank you so much, guys. Shushan, have a small recognition from GATS.
Thanks.
Orange, Adi. He's done.
Just request you all to give a big round of applause to these guys. The quality they had, the way they explain things to us. No wonder you guys are where you are today. So awesome.